Welcome back to our Out of the Park 24 Detroit Tigers sim. We're at the end of our first season, the 2023 season. When we last left off, it was July 31st. Things had started to head south for us. We were 45-45 at the All-Star break. Let's go to just the regular standings here. As you can see, we ended 70-92. Things got bad, and they just kept getting worse. Now, the expanded standings will show you we had some, we didn't play well, right? You're not 70-92 in a good team, but we maybe weren't as bad as our record shows. Run differential was negative 47, 6 wins below a Pythagorean record of 76-86. A lot of that because in one-run games, we managed to go just 14-21. You go 500 in those games, you reverse that record, right? And then extra inning games, not as bad, but 8-10. 23-58 on the road, which is wild, and 47-34 at home. I'm not sure I've seen a split that wild before. Of course, like I said, we were 45-45 at the All-Star break, 25-47 after. We were 2 games above 500 against lefties, which is interesting because we have a bunch of lefty bats. But where did things go wrong? Well, let me do something that's going to help us look at that here. Let's just put everybody, since it's now the let's see, is it going to let us? Oh, okay, never mind. It's not the postseason yet, so we can't do that. But let's go ahead and I'll show you who ended on the active roster, what the stats are. You can see Zach McKinstry and Nick Gordon were the only 2 hitters over 3 WAR. McKinstry coming in at 3.3 with a 105 WRC plus. So he definitely cooled off a good bit in the second half. You can see he was chugging on. April, May, June, he was like incredible. And then July and August, he was still a good player. And then September really, really cooled off with just the 48 WRC plus. But still, I think a better season than we were expecting from Zach McKinstry. 587 plate appearances. I would not have guessed that I was going to be looking to give him that many at-bats. Ended with a 105 WRC plus. Now, what player do we think he is moving forward? I don't know. That's a good question, but I think he's earned the right to certainly start next year as our starting second baseman. Unless something drastic falls into our laps. But he certainly got a spot on our team, that's for sure. And I would not have necessarily guessed that was going to be the case when the season started. Now, Nick Gordon with the 120 WRC plus and 3.1 WAR. All but 3 of those games were with us. Of course, we claimed him off of waivers from Minnesota, and then he just was going bonkers for a while. And then, as you can see, just cooled off. And that's really the story here is our offense just quit on us. And I think if guys like McKinstry and Gordon hadn't been hitting so well, maybe I would have done more to address the offense in season. So maybe I have myself to blame there. But really, this team was much more about this offseason we're going to get it into and trying to reshape them then. And does Gordon have a place on next year's team? I don't know. I think he could be a decent trade chip with the season he put up. So we'll see. But you can see, these WRC pluses are absurd through July, and then August of 48. September bounced back with an 86, but yeah, he came back down to earth, but still I think a season well above what we expected from him in totality, and he can play a bunch of positions, so we'll see if he comes back. Akil Baddoo, really good season. We'll take this. Actually, no, let's do it this way. Let me show you. So he won batter of the month 1 month, which was pretty crazy. What did he do? There's his batter of the week. Batter of the month in July, he hit 403 with 4 home runs, 15 RBI, and 20 runs scored. He was down the minor at some point, and then he just came up and just started killing it. He did cool off towards the end. He ended up putting up 2.1 WAR in just 92 starts, 414 plate appearances, a 108 WRC plus. Let's just look at his major league stats. You can see August and September, again, 61 WRC plus, 66 after his July of 211. So, just that the bats just went ice cold. And these guys are playing over their heads, right? So perhaps I have myself to blame for trusting they continue. It's not that I trust that they continue. That's not really accurate to say. But, it's not surprising when your offense is being led by Zach McKinstry, Nick Gordon, and Akil Baddoo through the month of July that then that offense falls apart, right? But we're hoping that other guys would step up. They didn't really. Javi Baez ends it with a league average 2.0 WAR, 79 WRC plus, We'd like for there to be more here, but this contract is not an albatross, I don't think. I think we can live with this contract right now as long as he can keep fielding. And, I don't think this contract is going anywhere. I don't think we can get rid of it. I don't think there's any chance that he opts out. But if he can play like a Gold Glove caliber shortstop, which, he might not win the Gold Glove, but he was a top 5 fielding shortstop. If he can do that, we'll get by. Jonathan Aranda, who we got from the Rays in a trade in June, played really well. This is great to see. 133 WRC plus, 1.2 WAR. He's got some sort of spot on our team next year, maybe as like a strong side platoon playing against righties and maybe at first base. I don't know. We'll get into the offseason more, but I think while I see a guy like Gordon more as probably a trade piece, I see Aranda more as probably a guy that we're going to be bringing back. Torque, as mentioned in the last video, he missed some time, and even when he did play, just wasn't great. Like, he was fine. A 105 WRC plus, 0.9 WAR as our first baseman. I don't know what to do here. Like, I think I want to bring him back because I think he could still be a really impactful bat, but it's just like, when do we cut the cord on that, right? And he's got a tremendous trade value. So when do we give up on him and give him the opportunity to go be a middle lineup presence elsewhere? I don't know. That depends on the offers we get, but we'll see. I think chances are Torque will be back as our first baseman next year, but that is not a sure thing. Parker Meadows, who we called up, if he can put up an 89 WRC plus, we'll be thrilled because he's like a great fielding shortstop. You can see in 40 games, he wrote a 2.4 zone rating, looking like his job to lose in center field next year. Austin Meadows, pretty disappointing season from him, I'd say, based off of what we know he's capable of. 89 WRC plus, just 0.8 WAR. I think certainly one of the guys that when the Gordons and all those other players cooled off, McKinstry's of the world, the what-have-yous, I think once those guys cooled off, Meadows was the type of guy. Meadows and Torque were really guys that we needed to catch fire, and they just didn't. He's going to be entering his last year of arbitration. I just don't know that there's going to be a spot for him on our club, but we'll see what the trade market brings because we're not going to just give him away. He could come back and be a pretty useful player for us. Miguel Cabrera, final season. I think he's going to retire. If not, as I said at the beginning of the season, I'm going to retire him just because that's what he's going to do in real life. Solid final trip for him. He played in 85 games, got 335 plate appearances, and rocked a 114 WRC plus. Absolutely no power. Made a 324 average, 392 on base, and a 371 slug. He had 8 extra base hits. So that's a fun season for Miguel Cabrera. I'm glad the team didn't go off on a positive foot for him, but. Or send him off on a positive note. That's what I'm trying to say. But he had a nice final chapter of his career. I think that's a nice final season for Miggy there. Andre Lipchis, who was a prospect who we called up, who hit really well for a while and then just fell off, man. Just like, yeah. You can see he came up and was hitting like crazy here in June and July. Then August in 44 plate appearances, he has a WRC plus of 2. September, a WRC plus of 45. I don't know. I think he's a good depth piece in AAA next year, who you call up when you have an injury or a slump. But I think he played himself out of a starting role there with his efforts down the stretch. Jake Rogers, man, this went so poorly. Jake, 39 WRC plus. Like, man, I wonder why our offense sucked. Look at all these guys that just were bad. I don't know. He's a good defensive catcher. He's arbitration eligible, projected to make $1.3 million. So, I mean, honestly, are we going to do better than that out in free agency? Or, I don't know. Hopefully we can bring up Dingler or somebody or sign a guy so he's not starting 124 games for us. I think that would be the plan if he's back, not have him play that much. Matt Vierling was really bad in limited duties. Juan Centeno, who I brought in to be my lefty catcher, was just bad. I don't think there's any way I bring him back. And then Riley Green, man, just a dud of a season. Even with a 344 BABIP, in 357 plate appearances, he still only put up a 78 WRC plus. Now, did it get better down the stretch? I'm not really sure. Yeah, September he put up a 96 WRC plus, and then in one game in October he hit really well. But what a bummer of a season, though, for Riley Green, who we're hoping can be a centerpiece of our offense. It's pretty. I think it's pretty nice that we won 70 games with the performances we got from like Green and Meadows and Torkelson. Just not good, and especially Green and Torkelson. Those are guys that we're hoping to build our lineup around. I expect Riley Green to be back. I don't think he just turned 23. We're not going to give up on him at this point. But what a bummer of a season. Disappointing. We need more from him for sure. Let's get to the pitching side of things. Eduardo Rodriguez ended the season with 2.4 WAR and 3.6 RWAR to lead the team, 3.95 ERA. The big question going into the offseason is, will he opt out or won't he? I don't think he will. But, let me say this. I think he I would be, how do I say this? I have seen in other sims where he's had good seasons and not opted out. If I hadn't seen that, I would think he's probably going to opt out. But I've seen him generally not opt out of his contract. This will have a pretty big impact on what our offseason plan ends up being. I think either way, we need a guy who can pitch towards the top of the rotation, but we might need two starters if Eduardo opts out of his contract. Alex Lang was fine. Alex Lang was good as our closer. Matt Manning, solid season. We'll take this 1.6 WAR, 2.4 RWAR in 31 starts. I think he certainly can come back and pitch in our rotation next year. Is this? Yeah, okay. Brant Herter was very good out of the bullpen, struggled a bit in the 7 starts, but hopefully he will come back. Number 53 prospect in baseball. I'm saying hopefully he will come back and pitch better in the rotation for us next year. He'll certainly be battling for a spot. Same thing with Ty Madden here. Number 55 prospect in baseball, got 5 starts. He was solid for us in 67 innings. Andrew Vasquez was a great lefty pickup for us off the waiver wire. He'll come back next year. Other than that, a lot of Casey Mize did come back and make 1 start for me. Last game of the season, I think, or second to last game of the season. He pitched 5 innings, gave up 3 runs. Hopefully he can join our rotation. The real story here at the bottom is Tarek Skubal, negative 1.1 WAR, 7.32 ERA, 6.94 FIP in 55 innings. He was terrible. Hopefully he still has trade value. He had some at the trade deadline, and I didn't like the fit of things that were being offered, and I figured maybe we can use him to acquire major league talent in the offseason, but perhaps he pitched his way out of having any trade value. Tough to say. Other guys on the 40-man, Kerry Carpenter was kind of up and down and ended it with a 65 WRC plus in Detroit. Ryan Kreidler, I think just based off of his glove, will be around some more. He played really well in AAA, but had just a 63 WRC plus for us in 183 plate appearances. Legend Nick Maton just didn't work out for him this year. He was bad at the MLB level in 148 plate appearances. He wasn't good in AAA, and then the AI actually demoted him to AA after that. He's out of option year, so I don't think he'll be back. Disappointing. I was hoping he could at least be a bench guy for me for a couple seasons because I like him from that OSIM where he was a legend for me. Foley was around a bit. Garcia, none of these other guys are like big guys that we need to talk about. You can see here's the month by month. 9-15 in July, 7-21 in August. Decent 12-15, relatively decent 12-15 in September. The run scored, which was running up around 5th or 6th most of the year, for the first half of the season drops to 11th. Starters ERA was running better for some of the year. That dropped way down. Zone rating was still good. The defense is still good. But just everything just went wrong for us. One thing that did go right, it's kind of fun to see go right, is some of the player development updates that we got. We just see a lot of green here. And I'll get into some of these prospects. But Chase Dollander, remember our good old number 1 pick, he's up to AA. He made 14 starts there, and I probably should have promoted him, but decided not to. He started at high A, and he made 4 starts and put up a 1.99 ERA. He then went to AA, and he had a couple bad starts to start, but you can see, you can see his his ERA was 4.11 through 9 starts because that's with 5 starts to go, and then he just gave up 1 run the rest of its way over the last 5 starts. So 2.99 ERA. I think he could probably start next year in AAA. That's probably the plan. One concerning thing is he had a sore shoulder. It was just day-to-day, but you never like to see a pitcher with a shoulder injury. So hopefully that doesn't turn anything. By the way, I love that this year, this did not used to happen. Shout out to Out of the Park. So if I'm on you see where I am on the player development and I'm not at the top and I click on this, you used to hit the back button. It would have you at the top of this thing. So you didn't have to go back, find where you were. It's just a little nuisance, annoying. You don't have to do that anymore because it just has you right there. I love that. Brookman going up. Jake Miller. Who's this guy again? Oh, he's just a dude who's already here. Jose Ferreira, who we got right around the trade deadline from the Nats, he's jumped up. This could turn out to be a decent pickup maybe. He added a tick to his fastball. He added some control. He added some stuff. He added some movement. Love to see that. Now he's a reliever, but still. Isaac Pacheco is coming right along. Peyton Graham. These are all guys that I controlled. Jack Hurley, who was my 4th round pick in the draft, and he obliterated A-ball in 20 games and then spent 32 games at low A and was really good there. Probably should have gotten him up to high A, but he'll certainly start there next year, maybe even double A. But if you look at what he's done, I mean, so where's draft? He was a 55 when I drafted him. He's now a 70. His contact potential has gone from a 65 to an 80. Power potential from a 50 to a 55. His overall contact has already improved. Same with his eye. This has the makings of possibly being a really, really nice 4th round pick. Thanks for showing up, Jack Hurley. Thanks for being here. Tate McKee is an 18th round pick who's showing improvement. And there are a couple Carter Trice, who is a 9th round pick. I don't even remember picking him. Yeah, he should be up out of rookie ball at 21 and doing that kind of damage. Maybe I'll just take control of him right now and do that. It's a game strategy. And we'll promote him to Class A. There we go. So we'll start there next year. Luke Leto is a guy who didn't really play. 6th round pick. Didn't really play. But is already showing improvement. Look, he was a 40 overall when we drafted him. He's now 55. Look at this guy. It's a great thing to see. So another guy here, Michael Graziano, 17th round pick, who didn't perform great in rookie ball, though for an 18-year-old, that's not bad, but 45 on draft day. My scout now thinks he's a 65. So not that all these guys are going to stick, not that they're all going to continue to show this improvement or even hold this improvement, but that's really encouraging to see. I'm really happy with that. Into the prospects, which I know some of you love looking at what the prospects did. We already looked at Dollander and Herter. Flores, who is the number 33 prospect in baseball and is in AAA, he's still just 22. You know, I could have called him up, but I had guys like Herter and Madden and some other young guys on the staff already, and I just decided not to start a service time clock this year and give him a full year at AAA. He'll certainly be in the mix for competing for a roster spot next year. Jackson Jobe, number 22 prospect in baseball. He came back from an injury late in the season, made 4 starts at high A and was fine, and then went to double A and was solid. I don't know. I think he probably starts in double A next year, unless he takes a major leap forward in the offseason, but looking good so far, bouncing back from the back injury that caused him to miss 4 to 5 months. Kervin Castro didn't do great. Wyatt Crowell was our 3rd round pick, and he was a college prospect. He pitched 7 good starts in rookie ball. Then he went to low A and did not fare very well with a 6.86 ERA, but I mean, the BABIP was 4.30. Like, I think he'll be all right. Ty Madden, we talked about. Statler, I think, struggled. Yeah, he was fine in high A. Gibson Long is out long-term with an arm injury. Batter side of things a lot more. Here's our guy, Colton Hartman. Remember this, the 2nd round pick. He didn't do much yet, but he's young. He's got a long way to go. He's got to learn to cut down on those strikeouts, striking out in 36.1% of the time in rookie ball. Yeah, he could easily bust, but we knew that when we drafted him. We drafted him because he's fun, and he might come up and hit 60 homers, so we'll see. George Lombard, who is our 1st round supplemental pick, Very young in rookie ball. Didn't do much, but Ty Pete we talked about. Hurley we talked about. Pacheco, he was in A-ball all season, and the team didn't do well, so he was pretty angry about it. 96 WRC plus, did not play up to his ratings. Here we go. Our guy Mason, 112 WRC plus in AA after coming over from the Rays in a trade, and I think he'll start next year in AAA, and that he's a possible major league player for us. Peyton Graham, great season across A and high A. Liking what I'm seeing from all these prospects. Colt Keith ripped the cover off the ball in high A to start the season, then went to AA and was an average player, but he just turned 22 in August. We'll take that. I think he's going to be all right. Justin Henry Malloy has played himself into serious contention as a guy who could make our club next year. He started the year at AA, put up a 140 WRC plus, and went to Toledo and put up a 146. I mean, what's this? He put up like 4.8 WAR across the two levels. He was bonkers good. I thought about calling him up, but again, decided not to start his service time clock, and maybe we'll hold him down a little next year to get that extra year team control. But I'm open to him making the team next season out of spring training. Delandry, draft pick, who's still a long ways away. Trice, we talked about. Aparicio. Why am I controlling him? I'm not sure, but he's there. Dingler's another interesting one who he really struggled in AAA. Not really sure. He tore up AA, but then not really sure at this AAA performance if I can count on him to come up and be a catcher for us next year, especially with Jake Rogers being such a question mark. Jace Jung, the legend, in AA this year, put up a 129 WRC plus. He's about to turn 23, but he'll probably start his age 23 season at AAA and possibly come up sometime next season. Gage Workman, did this guy do much? Yeah, so Christian Santana put up a 139 WRC plus as a 19-year-old in rookie ball, and then Gage Workman, a glove guy, but he started the year in high A and was really good, and then he got 262 at bats in each in high A and then AA, and he was a little below league average, but so that's the farm system. I think there's some interesting performances there. Those are just the guys I'm controlling. I think there are some interesting performances, some guys who can come up and make some noise next year. Justin Henry Malloy being one of them. Of course, Chase Dollander, I think he could be up next year at some point, which is pretty fun. So that's kind of how the team played out. So go ahead and sim out the postseason here, and then that'll take us to the point where we, get decisions from Erod and some other things and jump into the offseason and come up with a plan for how we're going to get the Tigers back to prominence and win the AL Central next year. That's our goal. Let's get after it. So we've reached the end of the postseason. The Mariners have made their first World Series appearance. They've won their first World Series. They beat the Dodgers in 7 games. You can see the rest of the layout here. The LCS was the Dodgers against the Cards on the NL side. On the AL side, the Mariners beat the Twins in 6 games. I don't really remember seeing the Mariners make any big moves. So they brought in Jock Peterson at some point. I think the rest of that all looks like their team. They brought in Andrew Haney in a trade at the deadline. Nice. And looks like he got hurt. He made one postseason start and then got hurt and missed the rest of the postseason. It looks like they didn't make a ton of moves. Julio Rodriguez put up 6.7 WAR. That's pretty good. Let's look at I'll show you just a quick scan of the rest of the league. I had this up earlier, but I probably didn't show you enough. But the Rays, the Twins, and the Mariners won the division. Then Boston, Baltimore, and Houston got the wild cards. Disappointing that we couldn't keep it around 500 because the O's got in with an 81-81 record. On the NL side of things, Braves, Cards, and Padres win their divisions, with the Mets, Reds, and Dodgers getting the wild cards. Did anybody get over 100 wins other than the Braves at 101? No, only one team over 100. Yeah, so the Padres couldn't do it though in the postseason. Xander did get hurt at some point, I think. Yeah, he got hurt in the postseason against the Cards, so that's a bummer for them. How'd Manny do this season? 6 WAR, decent. Let's just do a quick scan of the league. Let's look at just the AL. So Judge led with 59 home runs. You know, Tani there. Bobby Witt won the batting crown. Adley Rutschman leads in on base. Bobby Witt Jr. leading the American League in WAR at 6.9. That's a nice WAR. And then Rutschman and Henderson both in the top 6 there for the O's. That's pretty cool. I like to see that. Jose Abreu leading the league with 47 doubles. Ruiz, no surprise there, leads in steals. Brandon Lau leading in OPS plus, 164. Miguel Sano with a 146 OPS plus, finishing 3rd in the league. Was he up here in like home runs? Oh yeah, 4th in home runs. Gallo and Sano near the top of the league in home runs is fun. I like that a lot. Big fan. Let's look at the pitching side of things. Bailey Ober leading the league in ERA with 32 starts. He went 15-5. Okay. Innings was Gossman at 236. WAR was Rodon, followed by Gossman, DeGrom, Rasmussen, McClanahan. Tyler Anderson led the league with 3 complete games. 2 shutouts from Kevin Gossman. 7.2 R. Where's strikeouts? Did I miss strikeouts? Oh, Rodon at 267. And Cole was number 2. All right, let's look at the NL real quick. Verlander leading in ERA. Corbin Burns won 18 games. He also had 5 WAR to pace the field. Woodruff threw 237 innings. Burns led the league with 265 Ks. Spencer Strider with a 12.1 Ks per 9. Strikeout to walk rate, 5.4 strikeouts to walk. Nola led the league, followed by Alex Wood. And yeah, ERA plus was Verlander. R WAR was Verlander. Let's look at the hitters real quick on the NL side. Michael Harris II taking the batting crown. Matt Olson winning the home run crown, but followed by Rowdy Tellez. That's great. I love it. Max Muncy up there. Schwarber and Castellanos with the Phillies. Matt Olson won the home run in the RBI crown. What was his batting average? 272. So yeah, not even close. Juan Soto, not surprisingly, leading the league with a 438 on base. WAR leaders Mookie and Harris leading by a long shot, and then Carroll, Machado, Bogarts, Olson, Acuna, and Jake Fraley with 5.2 WAR for the Reds and a 138 WRC plus. That's pretty fun. So now let's get into what's happening with the Tigers here. As we get into the offseason, Baez unsurprisingly sticking around. Erod, Erod is sticking around. I think that was kind of up in the air, but he'll be around for 3 more years now at 18, 16, and 15. That's fine. If he can pitch for another year or 2 like he did this past season, that's totally fine. We have a new budget with around $160 million to spend. What is that compared to last year? Our budget went up $16 million. We have a bunch of money here. We'll see this once we get done because Miguel Cabrera did retire. So 2,784 games. He had 3,185 hits, 510 home runs. Pretty good career. Here's the heartbreaker, though. Our scouts retired. R.J. Harrison, who I'm a really big fan of as a scout, has retired. I haven't even looked at what else is out there because the heartbreak is real. I was not expecting this. Pretty disappointing. I mean, we'll find somebody. I mean, look at this guy, Anthony Whitson. I don't like that he doesn't favor tools, but everything else there is outstanding. Scouting International. Yeah, I think Juan Monegro might be our guy because he favors tools. He's excellent with amateurs, legendary with international, and I want a tools guy. Yeah, the highly favors tools. There's not a lot out there. Tom Bruck is pretty decent for favors tools. Yeah, I think Monegro is probably our top guy. He hasn't done it anywhere before, but I like his rating. We're going to offer him the job, hopefully get him in here quickly because we really need a scout. So, yeah, we'll offer him 3-year deal, a little under what he's wanting. But So where does that leave us as a team? I did forget to tell you that we did have an injury. Joey Wentz is out for 9 months. He got hurt back in August. He was having an okay season, 318 starts for us, but tore his labrum in his shoulder. I don't hold out a lot of hope with shoulder injuries like that of him coming back and being the same guy. Pretty disappointing. Spencer Turnbull is another guy who was hurt down the stretch, but he had a decent season too. I mean, he made 34 starts and put up 4.47 ERA. He's a solid, back half of the rotation starter. I don't know with Erod coming back if we're going to have room for him or not, because I'd like Erod to be in the rotation, and then Matt Manning I think has earned that right. Casey Mize I would like to give a shot at. I think he's good enough to do it. We'd like to bring in a number 1 starter, probably via trade. So that's 4 guys right there, and then we have a bunch of young guys vying for that 5th spot. So I don't know if there's a spot for Spencer Turnbull here on our team, but we'll have to figure that out as we move forward. We do have a good amount of money to play with because of the increase in budget, because Miggy retired. Now, some of that I need to put into player development and scouting, because the reality of the Tigers' budget when I started this sim is it was just too low, and I didn't really have a way to bump it up this season. I'd like to bump this up at least like $8 million to around 20 at least. Scouting, I'd like to bump it up at least 5 up to around 15. So, I mean, right there you're looking at, between 10 and 15 million depending on how much exactly I increase this. So not all that money is going to go into the payroll. We got to beef up some other things in our organization too. But I think now it's time to get into the off season, time to make some trades, time to see what we can get for Nick Gordon, guys like that, and just how we can improve this team overall. So what are my main needs? I think, like I mentioned, this won't be my rotation. I don't know. I think our rotation probably looks something like, Madden's probably out here looking in. Herder, they'll compete for that 5th spot, but I think our rotation is more like this going into the offseason. Would like a number 1, Erod, Manning, Mize, and then Madden, Herder, and some other guys who are in AAA like Flores and even Dollander at a certain point will compete for that 5th spot, and then a couple of them will be in the bullpen. I think Lang and Velasquez are obviously back. Pacheco put up a .47 ERA. I think he's back, but I think we could use 2 back end of the bullpen arms. Put Pacheco and Vasquez more in middle relief roles and have just a really strong bullpen. So if I could get 2 cheaper guys to be setup guys out there, I don't want to spend a ton of money on bullpen, but I think a number 1 starter and 2 relievers are probably on our shopping list. On the offensive side of things, I think that's tough to say. Nick Gordon could be back as our 3rd baseman. We could also shift him to the outfield and put him in left or right field if we need to. I think, I'm going to see what I can get for him trade. If people are believing this all-star season he'd put up, I'm going to deal him. But let's look it through by position. But Jake Rogers, he can't be our starting catcher. I think he could be a halftime catcher, but we need to bring in somebody because Dylan Dingler's not ready. Jake Rogers cannot play that much again next year, so we need to do something at catcher. And I'm jotting this down so I don't forget it. Torkelson, I think he'll probably be back as our first baseman. If I get a deal I can't refuse, I'll do it, but we'll see. McKinstry, I think, has earned the right to be our second baseman going into the season, but I'm going to have some contingency plans. Gordon, I think he could be 3rd base, left field, right field if he's on the club. But I think a 3rd baseman might be in order. Baez will be our shortstop. I think Badu and Green will duke it out for left field. Parker Meadows, I think, will be our center fielder. Right fielder, like I was saying, it could be Austin Meadows, but it also could be Nick Gordon. DH, I don't really know if we want Aranda being our everyday DH, but he's certainly a really good bat to have in there. Can play a bunch of different positions. Maybe be a guy who plays first, left, right, and DH against righties, and just between all those spots plays almost every day against righties. But I think that leaves us needing, depending on what we do with Gordon, we're going to need a 3rd baseman and or a right fielder, because if he's there, he'll probably play one of the 2. I think we need another catcher. And I think we need a couple bench players. Akil Badua, Riley Green, one of them will be our fourth outfielder, but then I'd like a infielder, outfielder type guy who could play around. Maybe like Kreidler is on the team if I need him to. But yeah, I think the impact that we're going to go for, the first order of business is top of the rotation arm. That's what I'm looking for. And then in terms of hitting side of things, figuring out if Nick Gordon's coming back and figuring out then if he is or isn't, where do we have holes for starters in terms of at third base, right field, DH. So we'll see, but hopefully we can make a splash or two. We'll get into that, and we'll go through the awards and get into some trades and all that fun stuff that is the offseason. We're now about 8 days forward, November 12th, and the Tigers have pulled off 2 major trades. I'd like to introduce you to our new right fielder. His name is Randy Arozarena, acquired by the baseball team in Tampa, known as the Rays. So first I'll let you know what Randy... Now, Randy, in real life 2023 Randy is off to an amazing start. That is not quite the player we've gotten here in Out of the Park 23 world, but still a very solid right fielder who can hit towards the top of our lineup, I think. So last year he put up 3.1 WAR. He had a 109 WRC+. He stole 25 bases, slugged .433 with 30 doubles, 20 home runs. And he's under team control for 3 more years of arbitration. Now, he's making a lot of money. He made 4.15 this last year, second year of arbitration. I think he must be a Super 2 guy because he has 2 years of arbitration beyond this next one. So he's under club control through 2026. And he's going to make $8 million this year. So his salary's escalating, but I think it was time for us to move on from Austin Meadows in right field. He just, his season just wasn't where we needed it to be, and identified this as a hole. Now it's totally possible that Austin Meadows has a better 2024 than Randy Arozarena. I'm betting that he won't. And here's what I gave up on that bet. The top prospect I gave up was Jace Jung. Jace Jung was in the top 200 prospects at one point. And he also performed really well, right? He just had a great season at AA with a 129 WRC+. He's going to be 23, starting at AAA, coming off a really good AA season. So stat-wise, he is looking like a real prospect. And I mean, he looks like OSA is higher on him than my scout. I should also mention that, much higher, 55 overall versus 45. So this is a guy that we saw other teams valuing more than we do, and took advantage of that. He was the headliner of this package. I think he could maybe play second base for you. I'm not too confident of a positional home long term other than corner outfield. I think he can play around your infield a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be very good at any spot. And he's also a ground ball hitter. That was another knock against him. Not that I won't trade for ground ball hitters, but it's just not my first choice. So Jace Jung is the headliner. Darn, that back button. 2 years going, and the change still gets me. Wensiel Perez is another prospect that we gave up who played in... So he played in AA last year and was solid above average, then went to AAA and was about league average with a 96 WRC+. He just turned 24. I think he looks like a decent bench player, a below average starter maybe at second or third, but he really wasn't somebody that we are putting a lot of stock in our future. I think we have much better hitting prospects, so we were more than willing to include Wensiel Perez. Also going the other way is Austin Meadows. Now, I did say Meadows, it's possible that he outperforms Arozarena next year. I'm obviously betting against that. The other big thing is Meadows is a free agent after this season. When was he an All-Star? 2019, got it. So it's 1 year of Austin Meadows versus 3 years of Randy Arozarena, which is also a big part of this. Meadows put up an 89 WRC+ in Detroit last year, so he goes back to Tampa. And, I wish him well. I hope he finds success there. And then we also gave up Elizer Alfonso, a 24-year-old catching prospect who avoids Ks really well. He had a really good season in AA and then went to AAA towards the end of the season and struggled. But I could see a major league player here. I could see a backup catcher. So that's what we gave up for Randy Arozarena, putting a lot of stock in Randy here, hoping that he bounces back to more like his 2021 Randy. But even if he's just 2023 Randy for the next several seasons, we'll take that. That'll be an upgrade for us, and we're happy to have him. Thanks for coming, Randy. Welcome aboard. The other major trade is we acquired our new number 1 starter, which you might have seen on the lineup screen here. We acquired from the Marlins of Miami, Sandy Alcantara. Now, Alcantara in this out of the park 2023 struggled. Okay? He put up negative 1.2 RWAR thanks to a 5.56 ERA. His record was 7-18 for those of you who like win-loss records on pitchers. His FIP was right around league average, a 98 FIP minus, 4.17 FIP, 4.00 SIERA. The 357 BABIP, let's just look at it here. Look at his career BABIPs here, right? Like 270s, 260s, 357 last year. Now the strikeouts were way down. The walks were up a little bit. The home runs were up a bit. There's some reason to think that there's positive regression coming. There's also reason to think that this is a risky trade. But the year before at 26, he put up a 2.28 ERA with a 3.18 FIP. The reason we got Alcantara for the price we got him is because obviously the Marlins are concerned that he's not going to bounce back to the 21 or 22 Alcantara, that they are kind of stuck with this new Sandy Alcantara. So we'll see. He is under contract for several more seasons at what I think is a reasonable price given how high his ceiling is. $9 million next year, then 2 years at $17 million, then a team option in his age 31 season for $21 million with no buyout. So the important part is, what did we give up for him? Well, we gave up Nick Gordon, who was an all-star for us last year and put up 2.9 WAR. He played like an MVP for half the season and then returned to earth for half the season. I think is a useful major league player. The Marlins, I think, and his overall has gone up. Like, scouting wise, like he was a 50 at the start of this sim. He's now a 60, although he's a 55 here. Maybe it's my new scout has him as a 60 again. So, and his contact went up, and so I think there's some risk in trading him, obviously, but I'm betting that Nick Gordon is going to play more like the Nick Gordon we'd expect, and not like all-star level Nick Gordon that we got for periods of last year. So we traded our biggest overachiever. We also traded our biggest underachiever in Tarek Skubal, who put up negative 1.1 WAR, negative 1.1 RWAR. He had an ERA of 7.32, a FIP of 6.94. Now, he had some injuries, and he only threw 55 innings, and then he struggled when he came back, so he got put in the bullpen. This is, I think this is a totally acceptable buy low by the Marlins, and he's not even arbitration eligible yet, or maybe he's arbitration eligible this coming year at just $1.5 million. So, I like the fact that the Marlins are buying low on him. We're looking to push forward here and acquire an ace. So obviously we were ready and willing to move on from Skubal for the right price, but I don't think I've totally lost faith in him as a player. It's just that was the price we had to pay. That back button again. And then we also gave up Jose Ferrer, who was a reliever that we got for Dinelson Lamet right around the deadline. And he had shown a lot of improvement. He had added some ticks to his fastball. He had added some stuff. He had added some control. Look at this guy. Like, he's done nothing but improve since we got him. They see him as he's projected to have the stuff and makeup to finish games, which dominant stuff and field control has a chance to be an ace. Well, he's going to be an ace of a bullpen because his stamina is only 30, so you're not going to get a lot of innings around him. What just happened? What? Just went forward? I tried to, so this score bug thing, I'm not in full screen mode, but sometimes when you hit the OSA head scout, it had done that before for me with, in the trade deadline screen. I hadn't seen it work here yet, I just need to go into full screen mode, but I'm not going to do it right now in case it jacks something up. So he's not going to be a starter, but a possible really good bullpen arm, I think. Back end bullpen arm, and he's only 23. but we're not going to let a bullpen guy come between us and getting an ace. And then we gave up Andre Leon, who is just 20 years old and doesn't have a very high ceiling and still has a very low floor, but at just 20, a lot can happen. So more of taking a flyer on this guy. I think he was the fourth guy in the trade. I had sent over, after some negotiating, Gordon, Skubal, and Ferrer here, and then they asked for Leon, and I said, heck yes, let's do this. So we've got Randy Arozarena in our lineup. We've got Sandy Alcantara in our rotation. Where does that leave us? I think third base is still a major question mark. Let me say this. I think overall we need another bat. There's a chance that Torkelson comes on strong, Green comes on strong, McKinstry has another great season, but I'm not counting on any of those things because I don't want to bank our success in this season off of that. Same thing, and this is on all levels, which is it's defaulting to, in case those numbers are throwing you off. I don't want to count on Aranda having a 133 WRC plus across the full season. I don't want to count on McKinstry being a 3.3 WAR player again. I don't want to count on Riley Green bouncing back. I'm hopeful that all those things happen, and if all those things happen, we have a really good offense right here, I think. But we need at least another bat so we have a higher floor as a team on offense. Now, will that be at third base? Will that be at DH? I think to be determined. I think maybe both. In the minor leagues, we've got some bats who can come up. I think I've mentioned this guy. The guy who I'm most excited about would be Justin Henry Malloy, but he's probably not going to be our third baseman based off of just the 60 arm. He could play some third base for us, but I don't think I want him playing 150 games there. But he dominated AA and AAA. He's ready for a chance, and maybe he can come up and play some DH for us and some third base. The one downside of that is we've got Aranda looking for some at-bats, but Aranda's a lefty, Malloy is a righty, so we've got a possible platoon there and playing other positions as well to get more playing time. So I think both those guys might be on the team, but possibly as bench players. But if those are two of my bench players, then I'll have a backup catcher as my third, and then Akil Baddoo as my fourth, because he just deserves it with the way he played last year. It doesn't leave me with a good glove on my bench, which maybe I just need to learn to live with, but we'll see. Because my two backup guys on my bench who are capable of playing infield are Aranda and Malloy. There's not a lot of good glove stuff going on there. But we'll see. I'd like to bring in a third baseman if we can. There's not a lot out there as looking. I'd like to bring in a DH if we can, and then push Aranda and Malloy to the bench. Baddoo would be on the bench, and then we'd still need a starting catcher. And we still need some bullpen arms too. I think pushing Pacheco and Vasquez down into middle relief roles is the move. We're going to be looking to do that. But those are the two major moves. So we'll go ahead and jump into award season here and then quickly move into free agency and arbitration, et cetera, et cetera. But I think this offseason's off to a really good start for us. I'm happy with it. There's certainly some risk in acquiring Sandy Alcantara coming off a down year, but I mean, pitchers like this, if he had put up another 5-6 WAR season, he wasn't going to be available, right? So taking a chance that he's going to bounce back and win some Cy Youngs here in Detroit. But let's go ahead and get further into this offseason. It's now July 27th. Free agents have filed. The Tigers have $53 million to spend. We do have a $2.3-ish million offer out there that I'll get to. We also, of course, that doesn't include what we're going to spend in international free agents. So, minus roughly $5 million and maybe another $10 million for drafts. So it's, it's probably about more like $35 to $40 million we have to spend if we want to spend right up to it. Our contracts are getting more expensive. So anything we sign this year, we're also going to be able to afford next year when we go to $29 million. Now, of course, we could move money around and do all that, et cetera. We'll see how that plays out. But we've got some money to play with, which is nice. Let's talk award season first real quick. Transactions is not where you want to go for that. I was just testing you there. We're going to go to league news. And let's go through it this way so we can see all the votes. There's some trades in here. Blah, blah, blah. Gold gloves. Pablo Lopez, the pitcher. Then we go around the diamond. Trevino, Diaz, Lopez, Chapman, Correa. I guess not around the diamond, I guess, if you're going third then short. In the outfield, noted Orioles gold glover Seth Brown, takes home the left field Gold Glove. Buxton and then noted right fielder Whit Merrifield takes home the Gold Glove. NL side of things, we've got Lauer, the pitcher, then Murphy, Walker, Brandon, Donovan, Hayes, Swanson, then Yelich, Marsh, and Jordan Walker taking home the Gold Gloves. Let's go relievers. Johan Duran taking it home for the Twins. Every single vote. No Tigers there. He put up 3.7 WAR, 4.6 R with a 0.79 ERA and 54 saves for the Twins. Good job, Duran. Run up your arbitration estimate so the Twins have less money to spend. Thank you. NL side of things. Padres. Josh Hader takes it home. He's since been traded to the Cardinals with a new 2-year deal under his belt. Orioles legend Hunter Harvey takes home some votes here too. Let's see. Silver Slugger. We've got Rutschman, Abreu, Brandon Lau, Jose Ramirez, Gunnar Henderson, Yordan Alvarez, Julio Rodriguez, Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani. On the NL side of things, William Contreras with the Brewers, Olsen, Marte, Machado, Bogarts, Nootbaar, Michael Harris II, Betts, Votto. Rookie of the Year, Gunnar Henderson taking down all 31st place votes with 6 WAR. NL side of things, Corbin Carroll, 21 of the first place. Encarnacion Strand taking home 9 first place votes. Carroll had put up 6.3 WAR. Skipper Scott Service in Seattle. Snitker in Atlanta. NL hurlers, AL Cy Young goes to Bailey Ober, 18 first place votes. Gossman, Rasmussen, Rodon, DeGrom finish out the top 5. NL side of things, Verlander, Alex Wood, Matt Boyd, who we traded to the Padres to dump salary, put up 3.7 WAR, went 15-6 and finished 3rd in Cy Young voting. Nola and Burns finish out the top 5. AL side of things for the MVP, Judge takes it home with 22 first place votes. Ohtani, Lau, Rodriguez, Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt, Mike Trout, Kyle Tucker up there. Michael Harris II and Matt Olson, Braves teammates, get all the first place votes between the two of them on the NL MVP. Then Betts, Nootbaar, Machado, Luke Fraley, probably my favorite guy there. So that's the end of the are the Ohtani and the Cardinals close to a deal. He's a free agent, y'all. Oh, Kansas City is out there is interested. So those are the awards. Now next we're going to jump into free agents and our plan for jumping into free agency. So here we go into, the most fun part of the offseason here. Let's dig into free agency. I've got my lineup here. I know I've talked through the depth chart a little bit and the needs, but I'll lay it out in a little more detail here. We're looking for a catcher to partner with Jake Rogers. I think first and second base we're set for now. I think we need a third baseman, and we need a DH. Bench-wise, I think Badu will be on the bench. I think Aranda will be on the bench. And then we'll have another catcher, obviously. And then last will be I need a utility infielder because Aranda doesn't, he's not really, he's there for his bat, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So we need a guy there who's there for his glove, I think, just to give some sort of balance to the universe. I think Rosario is in the running for that. He played really well in AAA in limited playing time once he was healthy. Kreidler is a glove-first dude that really struggled in the chances he had in the majors last season, but was really good in AAA with a 122 WRC+. So I think I'm comfortable with one of those two guys being kind of my utility glove guy, so to speak. Now, if I bring in a third baseman and a DH, you can see I kind of want them to be middle-of-the-order type bats. They might not be huge bopper, superstar type players, but guys who have some thump. I think the thing I'm most uncomfortable with here is maybe relying on Zach McKinstry to come back and be my starting second baseman again without any real backup plan. There's not a good backup plan here. I mean, Lipschitz is not the guy. Rosario, you could give him a shot, but we don't have an established backup plan. We just have some guys that we hope would work out if McKinstry ended up really struggling. So second base is a concern, but I guess it's like a luxury to have it be a concern where a guy put up 3.3 WAR and you're not sure if he's going to do it again. So you want a plan B. I don't feel great about the plan B there. Maybe something will fall into our lap. Pitching, Alcantara, Rodriguez, Manning, Mize, Turnbull. I talked about trading Turnbull. I think I'm going to keep him around just for depth. Like, if he's gone, then everybody moves up a peg in the pecking order, in the depth chart, etc. So I think having a steady veteran there helps, because then guys like Madden and Herter are now my 6th and 7th starter instead of my 5th and 6th. And we're going to use probably 7, 8, 9 starters throughout the year. So I like Turnbull. He's on a cheap contract. I did get offered a trade for him, though, that I think I got to take. I'll show that to you in a second. So bullpen-wise, that I've laid out before, but here it is. Lang will be the stopper. Then I'd like to get 2 setup guys, a lefty and a righty, and then Pacheco and Vasquez as middle relievers, Madden and Herter in the bullpen. So if we get 2 setup guys in here, that's 7 bullpen arms, not counting any of these guys. So we then need an 8th, which could come from this pool of players here, of guys who are on the 40-man but have options. We could add a 3rd bullpen arm in free agency. We also have Wilmer Flores, one of the top prospects in baseball, who maybe deserves a shot here soon. Well, he does deserve a shot here soon. It's just when are we going to give it to him? We also got our former 3rd overall pick, Chase Dollander, that looks very ready for AAA and probably at some point next season ready for the majors. Jackson Jobe, 24th prospect in baseball, didn't pitch a lot last year. He made 10 starts between high A and double A because of his injury, but pitched really well in that time and is still coming along. Now, before we look at the free agents who could fill some of these holes, she said, we got offered this trade from the Red Sox. It's like, man, should I be accepting this trade? But it's like, they're coming to me. I didn't go out and cheese the AI here, and maybe I should say no, but they're offering me Miguel Bleis, who in this game is not a top 100 prospect. In real life, he is considered a top 100 prospect. I think he's like 75th in the latest pipeline rankings. And potential stud here. Potential stud. Performed decently in A-ball last year as a 19-year-old. I'm curious, where does OSA think that he is in Boston's prospects? See, they've only got him as the 172nd best prospect, 8th in the Red Sox system. So it makes a little more sense in that scenario that they're willing to trade him. And, I don't know if it's that they really value Spencer Turnbull. Don't get me wrong. A pitcher who puts up 1.8 WAR, 2.3 R WAR in a season, and he's going to make just $3.25 million the next year. There's some surplus value there, but he's only under club control for 1 year. He's kind of a back of the rotation guy. I'm wondering if they see something in Junior Tillian, who is a prospect that we got from the Mets last year at the deadline, who was hitting really well in A-ball for the Mets. We put him in high A, and he struggled a bit. OSA sees him as a bit of a different hitter than, better contact, less power, better, not quite as good of a fielder. So it's different, the overall and potential is the same, but it's interesting how differently they think he's going to get there. So I would, all I can say is I guess the Red Sox are honed in on this guy. Now the other guy they're offering I don't think was much. I mean, he's like similar to Tillian in some ways, but plays the outfield. I don't know that I have a lot of interest in this guy, but to get Bleis, it seems easily worth it. And there are other pitching options, back of the rotation arms that we can go make offers to for money around what Turnbull is going to make. So we basically can replace Turnbull for around the same price in free agency and bring in Miguel Bleis, which seems like a no-brainer. We're going to go ahead and accept this trade. So I apologize to you Red Sox fans out there who are like, what? What is my team doing? I'm not entirely sure, but I don't mind it. So I'm going to control Bleis's promotions, demotions. We'll put him in Class A. We'll deal with we'll put him in just regular old A-ball where he ended the year last year, where he was for most of last year, and was about a league average player at the age of 19. We'll deal with promotions and all that later as the season gets closer. But Blyce for Turnbull is the deal here. And then, like I was saying, we can go out and let's look at starters, and we can make offers to a few different guys. We've got Alex Cobb here requesting just $2.2 million. Now he's fragile. He was clearly hurt for part of last year. Yeah, rotator cuff strain. He missed 5 weeks, and then a tricep strain. He was out for 6 weeks. So he's the better player over Sonny Gray at this point, I think, although Gray had a pretty decent season and has a much better bill of health. So I'm tempted. What am I tempted to do here? There's also Wade Miley that I don't think we're really interested in. I'm just kind of looking at guys who are in the like $2 to $3 million range here. Charlie Morton's out there, had a nice season, but he's fragile. Cal Quantrill. Ryu's somewhat interesting. Oh, he only made 4 starts. Oh, right, the Tommy John surgery. Sampson. This guy came over from the KBO. He's an interesting player. Only wants $2.25 million. I almost want to take a risk on this guy. Huh. He wasn't very good in 5 AAA starts. We'll come back to him. I don't think he's the guy that we want to go out and get. Yeah, so I almost think because of that pitching depth that I noted with those young arms, like 4 or 5 guys who could potentially pitch at the major league level next year, I'm almost more comfortable going for Cobb because I think he's the better pitcher at this point, but he's more likely to get hurt. But I think we go with the higher ceiling, higher risk player who can probably be a better pitcher than Sonny Gray, according to my scout. And he wants to be in the starting rotation, and he wants a no trade clause, which is like that's both fine. Like I don't really care about that. So over our $57 million, we're just gonna offer Alex Cobb $2 million, and hope that he comes to be our 5th starter. On the bullpen side of things, let's just look at all relievers here. Again, we want 2 setup guys, ideally at a lefty and a righty. One of the guys I was targeting isn't there because I think he got switched to listed as a starter. Liam Hendricks is great. Love him, but I don't really want to bring in an extreme fly ball pitcher. I think you guys are probably used to me saying that by now. Loaizaga is an interesting righty. I'd almost like a higher stuff guy. David Robertson is out there. Ruptured tendon in his finger. Well, he hardly pitched last year too. Oh, he tore his labrum. Oof. And then he came back and he was fine. He's fragile. Yeah, I don't really know if I want to mess with that. I don't know. I think we'll just avoid all of that. Joe Kelly, I think in my filter here, I forgot to put I accidentally deleted if they're lefty or righty. Joe Kelly is a guy I would be pretty interested in bringing in. He wasn't great for Chicago last year. The one guy that I was listed under relievers, but then I think got shifted to a starter lefty-wise is Jalen Beeks. Now, his stuff plays up to like a 65 when he's in the bullpen. He wasn't up all of last year with the Rays, but in the 30 innings, he put up a 2.9 FIP and a 2.23 SIERA. Struck a bunch of dudes out. He's the main guy that I'm interested in as a lefty reliever, I think. And why did I take off? Where's the handedness again here? At some point I took it off, and I'm trying to remember. Oh, throws. Short. There we go. All right, so now we know if they're lefty or righty, which is relevant information. Yeah, I like Beeks as a reliever because his stuff plays up. Now, Kelly and Beeks are not like the biggest arms, but there aren't a lot of really good arms out here. Like there aren't a lot of ace stud bullpen guys. Hector Neris. Actually, maybe I like old Hector here. He costs a bit more, We have a good amount of money to spend, though. How many years does he wants 2 years. I don't really want to give 2 years to these bullpen guys. I think I'd almost rather give the 1 year. Kelly was 1 year, right? Yeah, I think I'd almost rather give the 1 year to Joe Kelly. Because I do feel that, like, you know, if it was May or June and my bullpen was the weak link, like, say, Kelly and Beeks just, like, both flamed out and were bad, I think you can trade for relievers pretty easily. So that's why I would be kind of conservative here. Just taking a look at Evan Marshall was decent. Who's this guy? Oh, he's a guy who entered as a free agent. Got it. He's only 23. Yeah, I don't know if I want to give him $6 million right now. Yeah, so what's Pagan up to? Let's start with Joe Kelly. You know, maybe he'll taunt some people, and maybe we should give him a bonus in here for taunting the Astros. I think that seems like a worthwhile thing, but it doesn't offer it as an incentive here. Oh well. So we'll get Kelly at $2 million hopefully, and then Kelly is a righty. I got that right? Yeah. And then we'll go and make an offer to Jalen Beeks too. Not overwhelming names here. You want to be the closer? I mean, you're not going to be the closer. You're going to have to get out of here with that, man. I'll give you the money you're asking for, though. He really wants... He lowered his demand because he wants to be the closer that bad. Bro, you're not going to close for me. I'll give you $2 million. All right. I know there's a workaround on this. You can just list him as the closer in the position. And... but not actually have them close games, and they'll get over it. So maybe I'll just do that, because this is silly that Jalen Beeks is demanding to be the closer. He'll take less money to be the closer. All right, there you go, Jalen. Yep, you will definitely be our closer, and we'll pay you $1.8 million instead of $2 million. So now we go to the hitter side of things, and we look at. I don't have a good free agent hitter filter set up yet, but we can look at this here quickly, just as a quick scan. Third base, like, Matt Chapman is out here, and he apparently wants, like, how many years? 7 years, $17.5 million deal. The interesting thing is here on the offseason center, there are no teams listed as interested in him yet. Maybe the market's going to fall on him, and we can make a run at him. I don't really want to spend that kind of money on Matt Chapman. He had a terrible year for Toronto and then was really good in Baltimore, but yeah, I just don't want to lock up $17 million per year for like half a decade or more on him. It's not something I'm looking to do. And, I don't trust Miguel Sano to be my DH at the price that he's looking for. I don't think he's going to repeat that year. Although, he would be kind of nice to have if he is going to repeat that year. Donaldson, he's hurt? He tore his PCL. Jeez, that's brutal. Urshela, he had a terrible year in LA. Candelario is not really a guy that I want to go out and pay to be my starting third baseman. There's just not a lot here, and I think we're going to have to go the trade route. Eduardo Escobar had a really solid season for the Mets. He's wanting $9 million a year as a 34-year-old, 3-year deal. Like, I don't love this option. I don't love any of the options out here. Ian Happ is not really a third baseman, and he also wants $16 million a year. Enrique Hernandez, not really a third baseman. How many years does he want? He wants a 3-year deal. Yeah, so third base, just, I guess you could say not really what we're looking for out there. Now, if we go to all batters to think about the DH role, Michael Brantley jumps out a bit, although he is fragile and he didn't have a good season for Houston. And if you remember in my Astros sim, my one season sim, he had a bad year in that too. Now maybe he'll come back and be healthy after the shoulder injury, but man, shoulder injuries are scary. He also missed 6 weeks with a strained hamstring. I just think there's too much risk in the profile there. Hosmer is wanting $8.8 million a year. I was like, did he have a bounce back year? No, he didn't. He just wants $8.8 million a year. A legacy contract or something. Oh, Albert Almora Jr., friend of the program. Man, he was not very good in Tampa once he went there. So, yeah, I mean, is Matt Carpenter an interesting enough DH bat? Nah, I mean, he's a league average hitter, and he wants $13 million. I don't really want to do that. Adam Duvall, interesting dude, but he wants $19 million because he put up a beast season for the Red Sox. There's just, maybe I'll have a change of heart as I look through it. Now, Teoscar at 11 is halfway interesting, although he was only league average with Seattle. How many year deal does he want? 4 years. I mean, I'm sure he'd take less than that. Max Kepler, another interesting name, but he was brutal for Minnesota. He's been below league average hitter the 2 years before that, too. Not really the guy I'm looking to have come be my DH. What did Trey Mancini do last year? Nothing, really. JD Martinez, always interesting guy to consider. So JD put up a really good season in LA. Not really good, but 112 WRC plus at the age of 35. Pretty good. Oh, he wants 3 years, though. If he came down to a 1 year deal, I'd think about that. But I think we're going to be going the trade route for hitters here. So I'll Joey Votto, some of these veteran guys. Votto had a nice year in Cincinnati, a 121 WRC plus. Does he want a 3 year deal? Only a 1 year deal. Now he's 40. He's 40. That's fun. That's a fun signing. Jesse Winker didn't do much in Milwaukee last year, which is disappointing. I like Jesse Winker. I'm a Jesse Winker guy. I wish he'd had a better year, so I could maybe go out and sign him. What did Bellinger do? A whole lot of nothing for the Cubs. Wow. Do we want to bet on a Cody Bellinger bounce back? I don't think we do. Our scout sure doesn't want us to. You know, maybe one of these types of guys like Belts, etc. Maybe, you know, we could look at Aranda. Oops, wrong dude. Aranda he's a lefty, and we go out and sign a righty. One of these like nondescript dudes. Now, not Belt because obviously he's a lefty, and not Joey Votto because he's a lefty. Winker's a lefty, but like Brian Anderson. Nah, not Brian Anderson. But you know what I'm saying, I think. Just a righty bat in the vein of like a Votto or somebody like that. So I'll look into this some more. We'll figure out this hitting thing, but I think it might have to be more trade than anything else. But stand by because we're gonna try to make some more moves. All right, the Tigers for the 2024 season are really coming together here. Let's get to know your new Tigers. Meet your new starting catcher, Travis d'Arnaud. Signed a 1 year, $7 million deal. The fragile injury proneness is a little concerning, and he only played 38 games last year due to injury, but he put up 119 WRC plus in that time frame. He's a leader. That was important to me to bring in a couple leaders because what I didn't realize was through like Miggy retiring and then a few other guys who left is I didn't have any captains or leaders in my locker room. So that's one of the reasons I kind of switched course here and went to d'Arnaud, paid a little bit more money for a catcher, but he's also a really good player. Like he's going to hit sixth in their lineup, I think, probably, and be a decent catcher, be a leader, and hopefully stay healthy. That's the main thing. Speaking of leaders, we decided to bring in Austin Hedges, out of the park legend with the 70 catcher ability, and arm, and a captain. Decided to bring him in to be our backup catcher. Now, last year he put up a 44 WRC plus in 99 games for Pittsburgh, but despite that, his defense was so good that he put up .4 WAR. He'll be the backup, so that does push Jake Rogers to the minors. He's got an option year left. We're paying him $1.9 million. 1.29 million. I think maybe if I had anticipated getting two catchers before the season, I might have non-tendered him, but I think he's a great third catcher option considering that d'Arnaud is injury prone. Now we do have Dylan Dingler and other young prospects in the system that we might be able to bring up too, but I think d'Arnaud and Hedges will make the team. Rogers will get optioned is the plan. We've got a new third baseman. His name is Max Muncy. We acquired him from the Dodgers Baseball Club of Los Angeles. Max Muncy is 33 years old, a left-handed hitting infielder who will play third base for us. Last year, he played in 146 games and put up a 124 WRC plus and 3.9 WAR for the Dodgers. So it's a bit of a bounce back from what real-life Max Muncy did in 2022. Certainly some risk in a guy at this age. Certainly a risk in some guy with the 40 contact, 40 avoids Ks. But as we saw with the free agency, there wasn't a lot out there. We needed to make a trade, and Muncy ended up being the guy that we identified and went and got. We gave up Carlos Pena, who turned 25 in September, but put up a really nice season in Double-A with 3.3 WAR and 3R WAR. But honestly, he could pitch in the majors. I think he could pitch for the Dodgers next year, but we have enough pitching depth that we could give up this guy, and there were a lot of teams interested in him. I think in the trade deadline, too, there were some teams interested in him, but we held on to him to maybe deal this offseason for a need over the offseason, and that came in handy because he was the main guy that we gave up to get Max Muncy, who is our starting third baseman. Muncy is a free agent after this year. Just 1 year, $10 million remaining on the deal. The other guy we gave up is Delvis Matos, and Delvis is not looking like he's going to be a major league player, but I sent over the 1-for-1 trade, and they came back, and this is one of the guys that they said would complete the deal, so Matos goes along to L.A. We already met our new right fielder, Randy Arozarena. We'd also like to welcome back to Detroit as our designated hitter, J.D. Martinez. Tigers legend J.D. Martinez is back in Detroit. I looked over. My wife is on the other side of the room. She didn't react to me saying that. I brought J.D. Martinez back to Detroit. All right, she's fist pumping now. Or I'm just making this up and she's not in the room. No, she fist pumped. So JD is 36 years old. We signed him as a free agent, a 1-year, $11 million deal, which I think sounds fair. Last year, he played in 144 games for the Dodgers, put up a 112 WRC plus. We'll take that from him if he can do that again. 1.1 WAR. Was he playing in the field or something? No. Okay, got it. And yeah, I mean, JD, I think can still do it. I think he can still do the thing. I think he can still be a decent player. There's some risk here with Martinez and Muncy and the ages that they might fall flat on their face, right? Like if Martinez and Muncy both fall off a cliff and then like Green doesn't step up and then McKinstry has a down season and then Torkelson doesn't step up, right? Like this offense, there's a lot of variance in the potential outcomes here, but I like the offense. I think it's a solid offense, and I think, yes, I could sit here and tell you everything that could go wrong, but if everything went right, even if some stuff went right, like if Arozarena, Muncy, and Martinez all perform at the level that they did last year, we're going to be a decent team, I think. And that's even if like Torque gives us the same season, d'Arnaud gives us the same season, McKinstry, he can regress. We can live with that. Green, like it can't get any worse for Riley Green, right, than last season. He's got to be a bit better this year, and maybe he'll have a breakout season. But I like this offense. I like this team. Bench players, right? Hedges will be one of the four. Aranda, I know I say it differently each time. He will be one of the dudes. Akil Baddoo, I think, has earned the right to the fourth outfield job. That leaves one more bench spot. We'll see who earns that. As I've mentioned before, I think Ryan Kreidler is a front runner for that just because of his glove. We could also sign a utility guy. Pitching side of things, remember we had that fifth starter spot that we needed to fill after trading Spencer Turnbull, so we were able to bring in Alex Cobb, who is fragile and did only pitch 101 innings for the Giants last year, and they weren't great innings, but we took a very cheap flyer on him, 1 year, $2 million deal. He did ask for a no-trade clause, which we gave him. He would consider trades to a bunch of teams, though. So yeah, I'm totally comfortable with him as our 5 starter, especially with all the other arms that we've talked about. Bullpen, we did bring in Jalen Beeks. He'll be in a lefty role. I have him in the setup role, but I think he could end up being middle relief too. Basically, I just think he's a solid lefty arm to add to the team. And when we set him as reliever, right, his stuff plays up to a 70. So I like this signing a lot. At 1 year, $1.86 million, I think there's very little risk to us, and there's a whole lot of upside here with the stuff he's got, the fastball, the changeup, and hopefully he can stay healthy and just be a really good bullpen piece. Joe Kelly did not sign with us. Long story short, I offered him what he wanted, and then he came back and said, actually, I want like double the money, and I want a no trade clause. I tried to meet him like halfway, and he just cut off negotiations. I think he wanted 1 year, $4 million with a no trade. My final offer to him was like 1 year, $3.2 million with a no trade, and he cut off negotiations. And he then signed with the Cardinals for like 1 year, $3.5 million with a no trade, I think. So have fun in St. Louis, Joe Kelly. Hopefully the best fans in baseball. I say that with air quotes. Hopefully they appreciate your saucy antics. Hopefully you play the game the right way for them. So we did trade for Scott Barlow, who was with Chicago. He'd been traded them last season. He put up, where are his combined stats? He put up 1.3 WAR across Kansas City and Chicago in 59 innings, a 1.82 ERA, a 2.95 FIP. This is a really good back of the bullpen arm. Thinking about possibly making him the closer, so that way Alex Lang doesn't, as I said, it's like his last name isn't Lange, right? No, it's Lang, right? Hopefully. Oh well, if I've said it wrong the whole sim. The fun thing is you guys won't see any episodes until I've recorded a bunch. So if I've got a name wrong, you're gonna be telling me in every video, and it's already recorded. So, oh well. Maybe making him a setup guy so his arbitration estimates stay lower. Although he only got 11 saves last year in the stopper role just because he couldn't pitch the 2 innings too regularly. So I think I'll leave it alone. We'll see, though. So this is our bullpen that we had talked about. And then one of these dudes, probably one of the righty arms, will come in and be the 8th guy in the bullpen. We did claim Caleb Killian off of waivers from the Cubs. He was not that great in limited exposure with the Cubs last year. In AAA, he was AA, AAA, and the majors last year. Wasn't great at any stop, but my scout still likes him. He's a ground ball pitcher. He's just really good AAA pitching depth, I think, and he still has an option year left. So we'll take that all day. We'll take that kind of player for free. Around the league, are you ready to see where Shohei Ohtani signed? Because he signed, and it is hilarious where he signed. He signed with the Miami Marlins, 6 years, $191 million. Now, of course, that's, out of the park, doesn't really handle two-way players right with their true value. But this is at least not like an embarrassingly bad deal. Obviously, it's so far below what he'll sign for in real life. But a superstar, when you forget that he's a two-way player and just that he's a superstar, the 6 years is light, but at least the average annual value of $31 million at least is realistic. And he's got 2 opt-outs. He's got an opt-out after 2027 and then 2029 as a player option. So Shohei Ohtani, of course, going to the Miami Marlins, noted big free agent spenders. The Miami Marlins bring in Shohei Ohtani. That's great. I think that's fun. Another big signing, Julio Urias went on a 7-year deal to the Brewers, just 13 point something million per year, 7 years, 93.1 million. That's he's signed for a long time and through his age 33 season, but at a really, really low average annual value. So good deal for the Brewers. Who else signed? There are a bunch of 1-year deals in here. Miguel Sano signed with the Dodgers, coming off his really good season, 3-year deal. Adam Duvall coming off a good season, signed for 3 years, $39 million with the Giants. A bunch of 1-year deals. There's a 3-year to Leclerc. Brandon Crawford, 2 years, $32 million to the Red Sox. Yeah, there were also many trades. I had a video about the trade problems in this game. I don't think they're totally fixed, but it's manageable. But there's still a decent amount of trades where it's just like, dude, what? And the Orioles on the same day made 2 trades with the Yankees. They traded Heston Kjerstad for a reliever. Now it's Clay Holmes, right? A really good reliever, but still, I don't know, man. For 1 year, Clay Holmes is a free agent this year. You're giving up Kerstad and somebody else. I don't know that other guy. They also traded Hunter Haskin to the Yankees for another reliever. Oh, and then a catcher. Oh, that's a pretty decent prospect. At least they got back there. So that's fun. Another trade that really makes you scratch your head is, where is it? Looking for Cleveland. They traded Shane Bieber. Here it is. Now, they traded for a bunch of pitchers. They traded for Chris Bassett. They traded for Frankie Montas, and the other teams were retaining a lot of salary in these deals. They traded for Sean Manaea, so they got a ton of pitching. And then they traded Bieber. Now, they did get the number 101 prospect in the game for him, Steven Cruz, who, I don't love the low movement, the extreme fly ball, the low stuff. He has one awesome pitch. He's a borderline starter. He did have a good season in high A, but they traded Shane Bieber, right? Like, that fact remains. Shoot, where'd it go? And now Bieber, he's a free agent after the season. So, maybe this isn't that dumb of a thing. They're like, look, we're not going to re-sign him. Let's go out, bring in Bassett and all these other guys and pay them basically nothing because the team's retaining salary. And then they traded Bieber, retaining 40% with 1 year left, to the Brewers. So, I could 1 year team control, retaining some salary, getting the 101st best prospect in the majors. Yeah, that's a little wild, but talking through it, it's not as wild as I thought it was like when I first looked at it. There are a bunch of other trades, and you can see the Gleyber Torres era is over in New York. He went to the Brewers. Brewers are loading up, huh? Some other deals. Zach Wheeler going to Minnesota. J.D. Davis going to Baltimore. Hunter Harvey was traded. Boston acquiring Brady Singer for 3 players. I'm sure I'm missing some ones that are interesting to each of you in here, but those are some of the trades. I'll scroll down so you can see a few more here. Nate Eovaldi went to San Diego. Luis Ariz went to Chicago for Benintendi and 2 prospects. Rowdy goes to Cincinnati. Rowdy Tellez is going to hit 7,000 home runs in that ballpark. I mean, not that the Milwaukee isn't homer friendly too, but that's a fun scenario. I hope I remember to check in on that. There's our trades. Brett Beatty went to the Nationals for a player, for a dude. Luis Severino goes to the White Sox. We talked about the Hader trade. There's some more of our trades. So anyways, you get the gist, I think. Yeah, is there anything else we're going to do here? I don't think so. I mean, it's interesting to me that Matt Chapman still doesn't have any teams interested. Like, if that goes on and it goes into the preseason and then spring training and he just drops, I don't know. Like, I figure you got to think about it at that point. Even though we don't really have a space for him, I think if his, now this is a big if, but if his demand drops like just a 1 or 2 year deal, I think we got to think about pushing Muncy to the bench as like a utility guy. And then, yeah, having him be that bench bat that we were probably planning to give to Kreidler, having Muncy be like super utility, play at first, second, and third, and DH, and then bring in Chapman. Yeah, I could see that happening. I could see more trades happening if it comes down to it. Maybe bringing in another reliever instead of relying on one of these bros to come in and be our 8th bullpen guy. But we've got how much money left? We've got $21 million left, but remember that is also what we're going to need for the draft, which is $10 million. So an international free agent signing, which is 4.75. Now the draft, our draft spot didn't change, by the way. We were slotted to go 7th, and we came in at 7th. But man, the Marlins went from 4-1, and they signed Ohtani. That is winning the lottery. And then the Giants fell from 1-6, so that's bad for them. But yeah, I think that's about it here for the offseason. We might do some more things. Of course, I'll show you later on, who we end up signing international free agency, we'll go through the negotiations there. But I think you're looking at pretty much your 2024 Detroit Tigers, and I think it's a good team. I think this lineup right here rules relative to what we had last season. I think we had a very successful offseason. We'll see if these moves pay off. We'll come back and introduce you to the 2024 season, the 2024 team. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.